Now the Acclaim is Babylock's top machine in their overlocker range, and it has some spectacular features that will take your breath away. It was released in 2019, and I want you to hang on to that date because I'm going to mention it again just shortly. Now this machine, as many overlockers, performs 4-thread, 3-thread and a 2-thread overlock. Now the machine runs quite powerfully at 1500 stitches a minute, and it weighs just around 15 kilograms. So it means it's not bouncing on your table as you stitch, but it does mean that you probably want to find its resting home so that you're not moving it around too much, because it's quite a hefty, solid piece of kit. Now I want to talk to you about overlockers in general. Now on overlockers you get 4 tension discs, and you can see here we have none. Now the thing about tension discs is it allows us to regulate the feed of the thread through the machine so that we can produce the perfect stitch on the fabric that we're working with. Now sometimes you might need to make no adjustment at all, or you might need to make just minor ones, or occasionally when you perhaps want to do a roll hem, you will need to make some quite serious ones. So not having tension discs on this machine can be of a concern. Now we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But the second thing about overlockers is the presser foot pressure dial. We want to make sure we can adjust the pressure so that the feed of the fabric flows nicely through the machine. Now you'll see on this machine we have no tension discs and we have no presser foot pressure dial. Why is that? Well, it's simply down to precision engineering. This machine just simply doesn't need tension disc or the presser foot pressure dial. What happens is, as fabric is fed through the machine, pressure of the presser foot presses down onto your fabric, and as that foot moves up and down in accordance to your fabric, it will adjust a spring at the top. Now that spring is then connected to a series of mechanics, which will then in turn adjust the tension discs. So all of that manual adjustment is eliminated. Now Babylock call that the ATD system, and the ATD system is the automatic thread delivery system. So as our fabric feeds through, the tension is adjusted according to the pressure difference in the presser foot. Magic. Now the second feature I want to talk about is the threading system. So back in 1996, Babylock introduced the air threading system on their machine, the Eclipse. Now the Eclipse is a predecessor to the Inspire, but the Eclipse won an outstanding revolutionary award in Japan for its air threading system. Now the air threading system feeds the looper threads through the machine. Now it's quite a tricky task feeding looper thread through the machine, and quite often people will find that they've missed one guide and it completely throws your stitches out. So having a machine that feeds the looper threads will actually save a lot of people's sanity. Now with Babylock introducing that idea, they also own the patent to that design, which meant for the next 20 years that design was exclusive to Babylock overlockers only. Now in 2016 that patent was up, and other manufacturers had the rights to design an air threading system on their own machines. Now back in 2019, Babylock introduced the Acclaim. Now the Acclaim has another air threading system, so it's not just feeding through your looper threads, it's actually now feeding your needle threads. It works slightly different though. Rather than pushing the threads through with a jet stream of air, this time the threads are going to be sucked through the eyes of the needles. So the air threader actually sits behind the needles. You hover your end of your thread in front of the needle eyes and the thread will feed through. This is again an outstanding revolutionary idea, and wouldn't be surprised if they win an award for this. So this design is exclusive to Babylock, who own the patent to this design, and it's going to be held for the next 20 years, which means that Babylock will be the only manufacturer who will have the air threading needle system for the next 20 years, or at least to 2039. So if you want a machine with a needle air threading system, you're going to have to be looking at Babylock machines. Now the next feature I like about this machine is the easy way you can select stitches. Now when you select A on here, you've got a 4-thread overlock stitch. When you move down to B, you've got a 3-thread wide overlock stitch. If you change to C, you're going to have a 3-thread narrow overlock stitch, and the tension discs make the adjustments accordingly, so you've not got to worry about all of those adjustments needing to be made. Now with D, the stitch finger is removed, This is where you can go into your rolled hem, your 2-thread overlock, flat lock seam, and all the settings are made as easy as that. There's nothing to do with the tension because there aren't any dials for you to adjust. So if you want to, you can also create a wave stitch. Now you create the wave stitch using a 3-thread overlock. So that will be set on either B or C. Now the wave stitch is created by adjusting the looper thread. As one tension goes up, the other goes down, and as that one comes back down, the other one goes back up. So they work in harmony with each other, going in opposite directions, creating a looser tension and a tighter tension in opposite directions. Now it's not necessarily a stitch that I would have really thought about needing or wanting, but it's quite pretty and it's exclusive to the Babylock range. This is something a beginner who has the budget should consider buying. It has everything to make your serging life an easy ride. So when you're getting to the point where the machine might need a service, you might find that the looper threads are not entirely working in a balance. So there's a fine-tuning dial on here, which you might find that you're going to be using more and more. And it's similar to the stitch balancer that you'll find on sewing machines. You know, when your buttonhole starts looking a little bit wonky, you can turn this screw and it fixes it automatically. That's what I think this dial is for, because so far I've stitched all sorts of thicknesses through this machine and I've not needed that dial at all. The knife is easily removed with just this dial here, and it's very easy to adjust the stitches on this machine. Now I've popped all the features of this machine above so you can see them and take note, but there are other features on this machine that make it very exclusive to Babylock, like the brushes on the thread stand. These brushes means that if you forget to put a cover on your machine when you put it away, the dust that settles on there gets brushed away, meaning that as it feeds through, your tension discs are going to stay cleaner for a lot longer. And if you do use a lesser quality grade of thread, you know, where all the fibres start falling off, they will get brushed away and it will perform a lot better for you. So the threads are not going to matter too much. Another feature I like about this machine is that it has an accessories box. This accessories box means I'm going to have all my gadgets close to hand and I can keep things away. Now I don't use pins when I overlock, but you might. And there's a pin magnet just sitting above the accessories box for you to put them away safely. But there's also another magnet in a very clever place. Now, when you're changing your needles on your overlocker, you might have experienced, just like me, a situation where the needle has slipped between your fingers and fallen behind the looper door. And if that happens, well, in this machine, there is a little tray with a magnet on top where it will catch that needle and store it safely for you underneath. That's quite clever. Now on this machine, you'll also see that there are 2 doors. Now there is nothing special about this machine to have the 2 doors. I have checked this out. It's only based on the design of the cover stitch models. It's just to give us easy access to the threads when we're threading up. They've maintained these 2 doors on these machines. I think it's quite cute actually. This door opens fully and exposes all the machinery. So there's no excuse not to keep your machines clean, guys. Close that up when you're done. And there's another feature on Babylock machines that's not really talked about, but it's the vertical piercing of the fabric from the needles. Now on every other brand of overlocker, you will see that the needles go in at a slant, but on Babylock machines, they actually go down vertically. The physics is simple. If the thrust is coming from directly above, then the force is going to be more, which means that if I put thicker fabric through this machine, it's going to sew better. Now, the stitch length on these machines is 0.75 of a millimetre all the way up to 4, as opposed to your normal 1 millimetre to 4. So that reduced stitch length is going to make a real difference on your rolled hems and your flat locks, rather than dials being recessed into the machine and hidden away. This is quite a well thought about design. It's very clever and ingenious. Now I'm going to be grasping at straws here to say there are a couple of cons, but not really, are they? When I say it's the colour, let's have some colour in our machines. Let's come away from the white. And the second one is the wave stitch isn't something that's blown me away. It's a great feature and I'm sure lots of you will love it. It's not something that would have sold me the machine just on that basis. But otherwise, I think this really is a good buy. And if you're thinking about buying the Acclaim, have a look at the link below in my description. Now, this isn't a paid for review. This is exclusive to me. I've played with this machine for the last few weeks and I absolutely love it. It's not something that Babylock have asked. But I do want to say thank you to Babylock for allowing me to borrow the machine for me to review. And I did tell them I would be absolutely honest. And in their confidence, they said absolutely. Take care and I will see you soon.